Hey Neo, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I just wanted to start by asking you, what is the story behind you starting your Instagram page, NeoLiberalHell, and when did you get interested in like this kind of fringe politics?
Well, I started the meme account actually because I was posting so many memes just on my personal Instagram story all the time. And I was like, maybe I should like not bother all the people that follow me so much and just move this over somewhere else and see what happens. So it was sort of like just for me to just post whatever I want and not bother the people on my main page. And it ended up, getting pretty big that way. So as far as the fringe politics, I mean, I've always been like lent, I've leaned towards the left for a long time. I was a big Bernie supporter back in 2016. And I don't know, I think probably coronavirus hitting and having a lot of time to myself definitely like pushed me farther left and, had time to read and just like think about the way the world works and definitely pushed me into this field.
When did you start your page?
I started it in March of 2021, so it hasn't been that long. I don't know how many months that is.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like almost roughly since when COVID started.
pretty new. Yeah.
And so how did you start building a following for it?
I mean, at first I just like followed a bunch of meme pages, like no matter what the content was, like mostly like leftist meme pages, and people follow you back and like share your memes and you just kind of grow naturally. And I think definitely when I showed my face, that was when I like started actually really gaining like a following. I sort of like made a brand out of myself, and that definitely like helped gain traction. But I've always been like good at like building social media. Like I
Yeah.
don't know, I you just follow a bunch of people and then people follow you back. It's that easy.
And then, I mean, how did you start becoming like one of the more well-known voices in like progressive, perhaps like would you consider yourself radical left?
I
I don't know if like the term, like the history behind that phrase, or if it's like a thing that people actually identify with.
I mean, the thing is, I'm like, I don't see myself as that radical, but I think everyone else would consider me radical for sure. Radical left. Yeah. I mean, I don't like defining my politics. I just like, I rant about the way things are and don't have solutions, but I definitely am like, you know, sort of anarcho left, like lib left side of the spectrum.
And then, so who are the other big voices in like that space? I know the Red Scare podcast, which you're a big fan of,
Yeah,
like is probably one of them,
think
but who else?
I definitely don't think I could have the like following I have today without like the Red Scare type of people,
Yeah.
and their type of humor. I do love them. Yeah, I mean, I that definitely propelled me into the scene too, is like listening to their podcasts, listening to like TrueAnon and all the like leftist podcasts. But um yeah, I mean, other big accounts out there, there's so many, like as far as like on the left, like Beyond Woke and Problematic is a big one. I don't know. Uh, MoMA PS5, Deep State Revealed. Like, there's so many like different fringe accounts that like cover different things.
Yeah. And so I guess going back to like the building your following thing, when did it start to get traction? Like if you started in March 2020, when did you start to like notice that people like who you didn't know were, being interested in the content that you were pushing out?
Um, Definitely when I showed my face and they were like, "Whoa, you're not a dude with a neck beard." Like, that's cool. That probably pushed me out there. I mean, I have like some online friends that have are running like pretty big accounts, and if they share my content, I gain like hundreds of followers just like if they put one of my posts on their story. So that
Yeah.
definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess kind of going back to like the reason why I wanted you to come on the show, Facebook's been in like the spotlight for not being, or for just a whole host of reasons. And you're someone who's had like kind of a meme of a relationship between Facebook and Instagram, and having your account shut down, which actually, if you're a content creator, is a pretty, big problem, because you lose the following that you've built. So can you kind of talk through your, like, I guess your saga with getting shut down or censored, or whichever way you choose to phrase it, by Facebook?
Yeah. I mean, the first time I was taken down was pretty early on, and it was for impersonation, which was weird. I think it was probably my profile picture is a picture of Phoebe Bridgers. I don't know if they thought I was trying to be Phoebe Bridgers or what, but they put my account back up after that. I don't even remember some of the earlier offenses, like little things that like you say like ironically or like completely sarcastically, like can get you taken down if you use the word hate, or if you say you hate something or someone, if you use swear words, like little tiny things like that can really like rack up the violations. And as I started getting violations, I made a backup account, which is also gone now. But that was a thing that I'd seen other accounts do too, because this was not like uncommon, although it has escalated recently and become really crazy. It's not uncommon that meme pages get taken down for posting stuff that goes against the guidelines. So I made a backup account. I was taken down for like, I think almost a month over the summer. And then my backup account, I made a backup for the backup while I was down. And then I got my backup taken down, but then like literally the next day, my main account was back up. And like, at that point I was on such thin ice. Like once you start getting violations, it's almost as if you're like put into like a blacklist, and then like the more and more you break the violations, the lower and lower you go, even like no matter how ridiculous they are, even if they like say like decide to put a post back up when they see that it didn't break guidelines, they'll still count it, and they'll still move you down lower, because by the time that I was back up, I couldn't even like swear in my own comment section, which is obviously like, I'm sure if you went on your Instagram right now and like wrote a swear in your comment section, you wouldn't get taken down. But I got taken down once. This was like my favorite reason, because it was truly the most innocent reason. This person commented on one of my posts and was like, "Oh, is this what the song Work It by Britney Spears was about?" And I commented back, I'm like, "You mean work, bitch?" And then the comment got flagged, and the whole account went down right there for trying to like fix their Spears reference. So by that time I was like, oh, I really gotta like stay clean. I can't say anything really. I can't get away with anything. So
can you like talk about like what happened? What do you mean by like go down? Like as in like they lower their threshold for banning you or for censoring you?
I mean, they don't, obviously Instagram doesn't like reveal like what's like the details or like what sort of algorithms they use to track people, but I definitely believe that like the more you break the rules, the lower you go, and like the littlest things they'll take you down for. And like I posted a meme of like a picture of the Taliban, and it was like the Taliban is funding their new government on Marxist feminism, and they took that down and said it was promoting terrorism and terror organizations, which obviously it's not. It's like so clearly satire. But I do believe that like they probably scan for images. Like I don't think I'm allowed to post pictures of like any terrorists or anyone in any context anymore. Like a news organization could, or like any normal person probably could, but I think that my account is on some list where they're going to scan for images because they think I'm some crazy extremist or something.
So kind of tying that into like what's been happening with Facebook, it seems as though they're kind of have you looked into the like stuff that's been going on due to the whistleblower?
I mean, I haven't like gone deep into it. I don't keep up with the news and stuff, but like I know that the mainstream media is sort of pushing for more censorship.
Yeah.
And this is insane. Like the way I exist in this community online, and like the way I see other people going through the same stuff, I'm like how could you censor us more? Like you can't, there's no leeway, like at all. Anyways, like the algorithms just aren't advanced enough to like pick up on actual like threats, and just like will remove the most like simple things.
Yeah, and that's kind of, so I think the root of that is like, I think they're trying to push back against I think it's mainly against conservative and right-wing extremism. And that's who they're trying to target. At least that's what the whistleblower seems to be saying. And I mean, that's what was interesting with you, was I was noticing that you were getting banned for, and you're not like a right-wing person. But basically the thesis of what they're arguing is that like they're trying to kind of point Facebook to as the culprits for why the January 6th riots happened, and like they were one of the great facilitators of that. I think it's a reasonable like thing to say that Facebook caused January 6th.
I mean, Facebook has its flaws. I think it's like a larger cultural problem that we can't just like pin on Facebook. I mean, obviously like fake news circulation and all of that stuff like contributes to people on the right being radicalized. I mean, I don't know if I can really blame, I don't think I blame Facebook for the riots. I haven't looked into the details on like how they're like going about like blaming them. Like what is their besides like fake news, what is their reason for like saying that it like were these organized, like was it organized through Facebook?
I think Facebook groups. I think part of it was through Facebook groups, but the other big thing was what she specifically said is like during the election, they created a lot of different things that like would, don't post this because it's related to the election. You haven't read this article or whatever, don't share. But I think what she was saying was that after the election happened, they got rid of those like those frameworks that they created for the election, which led for like those couple months when, former President Trump was saying that the election was rigged, for a lot of people to post the quote unquote extremist content that wasn't allowed prior to the election. So that's kind of, I think, their narrative.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I don't think it's Facebook's fault. I mean, the riot happened. I don't know. I'm trying to think, form my opinions on this, because it's like it's hard for me to navigate. Like as a person who's on the left, I'm like, these people are crazy, but I also don't see them as like the enemy. Like I don't see them as people with real power, despite like the Capitol riots. And I think maybe like if Facebook were to actually create algorithms that were like smarter and could detect when there's like organizing of crime,
yeah,
it was one thing, but it just straight like the algorithms aren't doing that. They're not the ones that they have in place right now are not picking up on like legitimate threats.
Did you notice
now
a
I'm like,
difference?
that's because I'm like, you know what, like I'm like, I don't know, if I was organizing like protest, I wouldn't want Facebook to take my shit down.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not with those people, but like, I don't know.
But it's also a gradient, right? Like it's like, okay, they may take down someone who's like trying to organize like a Klan riot, but then what if it's like anti-vaxxer or someone who's just like anti-mask or something? Like I feel like there is probably a gradient for like the things they could take down, and it's on both sides. Like I think it could be, I think that the media attention by like CNN and like 60 Minutes and ABC is more so on the right, like trying to like talk about how right-wing extremists are not being censored enough, to which the right obviously says we're being censored plenty. And I think like, it is happening to you and other, like, I guess you're the only, like, I know of you, I know of Tom Tuna, and I think like that's kind of it in terms of, it's all through Mabot, the people I know who are on progressive radicalism or whatever. But like, have you seen other people's accounts get shut down?
Oh yeah, I've like talked to so many people about it. We discuss like what sort of things get taken down and what happens. I know a girl who she had her main account and her backup account both taken down within like 2 days of each other, and she had like 27,000 followers on one account and then like 16,000 on another. Like she just had a meme taken down, and her memes are not political. They're just memes, and the meme that was taken down was like, I'm coming for that bitch serotonin, like serotonin. It was like saying like I'm looking for her, and like that bitch. And then like the meme was taken down for bullying harassment, like for like she was bullying serotonin. So I don't know, it's insane. Like the algorithms will like do hit everyone, like even the non-political people, but I do believe that like the political accounts definitely get it the hardest.
So then what would you say in response to like the people who are calling for increased regulation? Because it's almost bipartisan, where, you know, like I was just reading about it, like it's bipartisan that both people are trying to like try to regulate the, you know, force Facebook to regulate more. And do you think Facebook, what do you think about that?
Well, I just think it's funny because like we'll hear from both sides as well, just how like what people say about Chinese censorship and how that is done like through a state apparatus, and like they censor people's speech like through tech platforms that way. And I'm just like, if you can critique that so heavily, why, like I don't understand how you can't see that this is very similar. It's just a private company doing the censoring because they are the ones that hold the power in this country, not the state. And it's like, it's absurd to me because I'm like, like, I believe that we should have free speech because the risks of taking that away are way worse than the risks of like having crazy people say things online, because most of the time it's literally just crazy people saying things online. I
mean, so what about people like Milo Yiannopoulos and Alex Jones and like those people who have been successfully deplatformed?
I don't know where I stand on that. I mean, Alex Jones is just hilarious to me that like I can't even I can't even take it seriously. I'm like, if they put him online, I'd probably watch for that to be like as comedy, just because he's so funny. I don't know. Like, it's really hard for me to like make decisions that way because I don't know where you set the limits, because I'm like, these people are crazy and they do spread hate speech and they spread awful shit. But I'm like, I still believe that like, I don't know, we should know who the bad guys are. Like, let them say what they want and know our enemy. I don't know.
And I mean, do you feel anxious about the US government stepping in to be the people who arbitrate what is hate speech and what isn't hate speech?
I mean, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that it leaves no room for any sort of like fringe politics. Like, I mean, we already know how much like the left and the right, like what really is going on is I consider it like right and center, and then like I'm on the left. Like what the right calls the left, I don't believe is really left, and I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I get it. Like you consider America's left-wing politics to not be suffice.
Yeah, they're not left-wing to me, and
sure.
I think that if anyone, like any grassroots like left-wing people are like, I don't want my people to be censored, because I think that like it's already hard enough to try to gain any traction politically, like as a socialist in general. I just don't think that censorship is going to help fringe politics.
So do you think there's a lot of like isn't there like a thing about like a shoehorn, like or like a horse thing, and that's like
horseshoe?
Yeah, or like, is that something you'd find to be true? And do you think that that's kind of alarming for, I guess, people who are on the center?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was true, but now it's looking more true than ever, I guess. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I think that like the right and the left can both be like angry and come together over this in a productive way, because I just do think that like taking away like free speech has way more like risks than letting crazy people say crazy things like and say what they want online. Like it is an infringement on free speech, which is like a big thing in this country. So it's one of the only like decent things is that, you know, you're allowed to be vocal about political things, but it doesn't feel that way anymore. Yeah, I guess the horseshoe theory definitely rings true in certain ways when it comes to stuff like this.
Yeah. Well, kind of like going back to your personal account, I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about like, as your following has expanded, have you know, you've kind of mentioned, I saw like on one of your stories recently that you said that you have like too many straight male followers. And like, that's probably satirical, but do you think that like a lot of the people who are coming to you now are just people who like trolling and mischief and like are just like the fact that it's like perhaps you who's like being a troll? Whereas do you think like you've lost the, you know, if there was originally like a political statement to be made, do you think that that's like losing its potency?
I don't ever think there was a political statement to be made. I was just like, I mean, I named the account NeoLiberalHell, but like not all the content I post was about all sorts of things. It was never completely just about like the effects of neoliberalism. But I think that like my having these like guy followers, I don't know, I think most of them are on the left like me. Sometimes there'll be random right wingers who follow my account thinking that because I like own the libs that I'm a right winger, but I'm definitely not that, and I hopefully they soon realize that. But I don't think I don't know if it's affected. Maybe like somewhere in there like it has affected the way I post, but I think I post mostly like whatever I find funny.
Yeah.
I make like a portion of my content, and then most of my content is actually just like reposted like stuff from other accounts. So I just post whatever I want, really. I don't think that the male followers have really affected that. Although they're funny, you know. I love reading. They're funny.
Yeah. I guess like, so then what do you think the like role is for trolling in politics? Like, do you think, yeah, like what would you say?
Well, yeah, I mean, you'll see like content get taken down that's like clearly satire, and like my friend had posted a fake tweet, that like a Bernie Sanders tweet that was like, I'm gonna dethrone God and destroy capitalism. It was like that was the Bernie Sanders tweet, and that got flagged as like fake news. And it's like it's sort of because it's the thing. It's like, wow, who would believe this? But I guess seeing some of the stuff that like right wingers believe to be true on Facebook and stuff, I guess I'm like maybe someone would believe this. But I think within these communities, I don't see the trolling as like a harmful thing. I see it more as like a big therapy session we're all doing to like cope with the current political climate we have.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, but like, wouldn't you say that that's where like the polarization of America is like that's the root of it? Like if people, and then also like, I guess the fake news stuff, like people will take horse tranquilizer or whatever because they don't trust CNN or they don't trust like all these things, and maybe for good reason they don't. But do you think that like, I mean, do you think it's like a healthy thing? Like even if it is therapeutic, do you think it's healthy for people who aren't like, I don't know if like that Bernie Sanders thing, if I saw when I was like, you know, 14, maybe I would believe it, you know? And you can be on Instagram when you're 14. So like perhaps that would be like my pushback for that.
I mean, maybe, I don't know, we should just like, first of all, we should get kids off the internet in general. Like, I don't know what age is the age, but I'm like, I don't know, 13, 14, 15 is like, maybe, I don't know. If I was consuming content in the way that I do now at that age, I think I'd be like even more demented than I am. But like, I think the trolling and the polarization I don't see it as like this negative thing. I think if we were all complicit, it would be way more detrimental. I think that it seems like people are like people are rightfully angry at the way things are. I think so. I don't see it as something like I don't think we should like just be contained and controlled by a centralized government. I think that we should like question this shit and post shit about how bad it is.
I mean, so what is the result of that? You know, like where do you think that goes?
The result of that, I mean, I don't have the solution. I hope that I could like at least push people left. But I'm such a doomer at this point that I don't know if it's gonna fix anything.
So but I think like, you know, I believe Joe Biden like was elected because he was like, well, let's go back to like the time period where people were less polarized. Like, how would you react to that statement or that phenomena, perhaps?
I mean, I think Joe Biden is who the Democratic establishment wanted to use as a puppet to run things. And I do think that, I think obviously he won because like the Trump presidency was so outlandish, like unbelievable. And I think people did want a sense of comfort. I don't feel that sense of comfort now, but I'm sure like my liberal parents do, and other people like that definitely feel more comfortable. I
don't know. I mean, like but then when things like the, you know, January 6th Capitol riot happened, like isn't that like a natural progression of like people actually being like more polarized and discontent with their reality? And like, yeah, and then I guess also kind of to piggyback on that, like the vaccine stuff, like isn't that kind of crazy that like half our country may think that taking the vaccine will like sell your soul to the devil?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there should be fake news control. It's just where we draw those lines and like how accurate we actually get that to be, because I mean, like there's so much media bias in general. It's really hard to know where to draw those lines. I mean, I think that anti-vaxxers are idiots, true, and like I sympathize with people that question what the government wants them to do, but I'm definitely not on that anti-vax wave. I think misinformation about COVID it's really hard for me to know where to draw the line, because I have such little trust in the mainstream media as it is, that like it's hard for me to, I'm like, I don't know if they're the ones who can draw the line. Like if Facebook's the one who, like, I don't trust the way that they want to draw the line.
No, I mean, I totally agree with you. Like, I think, and then it's like, that's the question for, like, I think what's probably going to happen is Facebook is probably going to go to like the CNNs and stuff and say like, hey, you guys fully take over, or like, you know, they'll find some kind of like research center or whatever. But I think that's going to happen, and there's going to be more censorship. And that's where I think like it's, for me, so fascinating when I see a lot of conservative people who hate Facebook, because I think like Zuckerberg in a lot of ways died on the hill of like not deleting Trump's account. You know, he still hasn't deleted it. Like it's still there. And I think that it's so funny that like, you know, like compared to all of the other social medias that have deleted it, like he, by like this ideological principle, left him on, which now has like resulted in, I mean, both the conservatives anyway hate him, you know, and like the very left-wing people hate him for not, or I don't know, like I guess the left-wing people, the centrist left-wing people, hate him for not doing enough to censor those kinds of people.
And you know, I'm like, at least we can all come together and realize that like right, left, and center, we all hate Mark Zuckerberg. That like actually brings me joy to think about, for like all different reasons, but that is very funny. I think, I mean, there are alternative platforms, and there always will be, for like the, you know, the where the worst of the worst go, and some people that just want to say whatever on the internet. I don't know if we'd ever make a switch to alternative platforms. I mean, like the Trumpers like took to what, Discord, and what are the other ones that they use?
Reddit.
Yeah, I mean Reddit has like is pretty central. Like they're like the centrists of like the social medias, I feel, because they do have like some like decent amount of censorship, but not in the extreme of like Facebook, and then like also like not like going into crazy territory like 4chan and
Yeah.
8chan and all of that.
Yeah. So I guess like, I have a couple final questions. The first is kind of philosophical. Do you think that the internet is just a reflection of human nature, or does it exacerbate it?
Gosh, I gotta think on that one. I guess it is just it is a reflection of human nature, in all the worst ways. but it definitely it heightens reality, because it's like a non-real space where we can do all like control, like use the same methods of control and power in the ways that we do in the real world, but at like insane rapid speed, and like in just like in the palm of our hands, I don't know how else to answer
What do you
that.
mean by control and power?
Well, I think that like for these things like know us and like track us, like we all know our phones are listening to us, like we're able to consume at rapid speed because of the internet. That's like capitalism controlling us to some extent. We rely on them like for like contemporary communication. Like you can't really go off the grid anymore. How are you going to like exist? Like you have to go full like anarcho primitivism, like live on a farm and don't talk to anyone if you like don't have a device to like keep yourself connected with people. And I mean, and just with the simple way of like with our speech like being monitored, and that's just a method of control too.
Yeah. And then I guess kind of like not really relevant to like the content that you really push, but did you hear about like Instagram being really bad for like teenage girls' mental health? Do you have like any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I was a teenage girl on Instagram at one point, but it was different world back then, like very, very different platform. I think that I would probably be like, if you're a mother, you should like get your young girl off Instagram until she's like 17, 18, I don't know, 16, I don't know. I feel like I'd be a crazy parent and like keep my kid off. But like, I think that knowing what I know now, like I wasn't allowed to have a Facebook until like high school, which like most of the kids in my grade had a Facebook in middle school, and I was always so impressed about it. But like looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was a smart choice by my parents. And I think you should keep your kids off Instagram, and I think maybe like they should be in a different like platform. I don't know. It's a lot of like the advertising, and it contributes to like eating disorders and body image issues, and also just like when your mind isn't developed enough and like you're still in your like teenage ego maniac like mode, you look at other people's lives and you feel like a discontent with your own, because of you don't understand like how it's all just image on there. It feels realer than it is.
Yeah. And then there's also like, I mean, I think it's also like your high school is online, right? Like you have to deal with the ideas of like popularity and like someone getting more likes than you. But yeah. Like but that goes back to, I guess, the question on human nature, where I feel like sometimes I feel people get upset with social media for things that just happen in life, like that's just a sad truth of life, that like people are, some people are going to get more attention than other people. Some people are going to be more popular than other people. And I don't think that solution comes through Facebook regulating its platform, but it comes through like maybe our society changing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that like politicians really care about teenage girls. I think it's a way to push for like more censorship and more like monitoring people's content and data on individuals more than anything. And yeah, I do agree. I think that these issues definitely existed. Like being in middle school and high school was awful before before we had like social media. So it's just awful in a different way now, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's one of the questions. But just to conclude, I have two final questions for you. And the first is like, I've noticed that your account is becoming more intertwined with like your personal identity. I think I have your first podcast, right? I think this is your first ever, like public appearance.
I've like had offers and they just like never go through, but this is the first one I've actually like gone through on it. I think as I'm being more sensitive, I want to make my way into. I feel like podcasting is the way to go because then I can say whatever the fuck I want and not deal with community guideline violations.
There are different guideline violations that could come up, especially if you build attraction, right? That's the double-edged sword. But I guess going back to like, maybe you kind of answered it. Like your identity is getting more intertwined with this like kind of fringe page or like radical page. Do you feel concern as like a college student who's entering the career world that this could come back to like, like bite you? Because that's like the thing that I remember when I was younger, always hearing like, be careful what you post online because, all of this stuff comes back to you or whatever.
Yeah, I also grew up hearing that exact stuff all the time. And I've always been, very opinionated and radical in different ways. And I got to the point where I realized like I really rather just die than like work in a corporate setting for the rest of my life and like have to be censored that way, because I'm like, I truly don't believe that the things I say are like that crazy radical and the things I post. But if I don't want to be stuck in an environment that wouldn't accept me for who I am. I don't want to have to be censored my whole life working in a career that I can't like be myself in. That's something I realized, and I think like I was already like have been involved in like the art world where I felt more open and free, and like as I make my way into this sort of like niche like political like posting, I'm like, I want to say activism, but I'm like, we're not activists. Into this realm, I realized that like I made the right choice, and like I shouldn't censor myself for career. I rather like try to find happiness through saying what I want to say.
That's probably like a good takeaway, I think, for anyone who's watching this or just in general. Like, I think that like there's a huge anxiety people have about cancel culture. And I think perhaps like, if a company is going to cancel you over something frivolous, maybe you shouldn't be working or shouldn't be in a situation where you are feeling that way. But that's probably like a question for capitalism, right? Anyway, just the final question I had was, so what makes you fulfilled about building the community? And especially since it started as just a meme page.
I mean, I've always liked making people laugh. So if I make people laugh, I'm happy. I don't know, I've made a lot of like real friends through this page too. I living in the home I'm living in because of Mabud, like through my account. He was the one who found me the home I'm living in. Like it's benefited my life in so many ways. I've made some really good friends, really cool connections. I'm able to like sell my t-shirts and like hopefully my art eventually platform, which is really cool, and like something I didn't think was going to happen just by like starting like a meme account, really. So that's been incredible. I really hope that I'm able to stay on this platform. I have so much anxiety about like getting permanently like I'm just gone. Like they take I have 2 accounts right now, my main account and my backup right now, and I'm like, if they take these 2 down, like I'm just in the abyss. I have nothing left.
Yeah, I think then you should start the podcast soon, or you should
I
start
know.
building something they can't take down, or start
Yeah.
using HelloDoge. You know?
I know. I really do. You know, I have like 6 dogecoin, so
Yeah, that's something.